It is a fact which I find to be very significant that through Bach's desire to be a pedagogue by spelling out what most of his peers didn't in the writing, letting the decorative portion and then interpretational ways of dealing with the ornaments to be fully in the hands of the performer, naturally because of the fact that it was done in its own time period, and so they had the opportunity to basically play what their peers did. However, Bach thinks further. Perhaps even he thinks of us. He thinks in absolute terms that it would be nice to have a demonstration of decoration in his A minor English suite for the Sarabande. And he writes les agréments de la même Sarabande, the beautifications, the embellishments, in fact, the melodic sophistication of the melodic line. Usually when he writes chorale preludes for organ, given the fact of the given Sunday's Lutheran chorale, which was sang in whole and half notes by the congregation in conclusion of the service. He wrote very ornamented, decorated right hand playing with a very sharp sounding organ stop. The striking melodic line of the chorale, but decorated and basically a variation of it. While the other hand would play on another manual of the organ with softer stops in terms of color, two voices of an imitational or contrapuntal lineup is so familiar to him, right? And then, of course, a third part that in a way dialogues with the left hand's two parts, that is the pedaling, that plays a third part. So it's like a three-voice invention and a chorale ornamented melodic line with sophisticated indications of trills and possible decorative patterns with 30 seconds, 64s, interruptions, stop before the beat, like tabba-dabba-dabba-pum-pum, and not just da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. In other words, he would articulate before the next beat a stop of the pattern of the decoration. Doesn't always have the decorative fast notes bridge into the next beat. To which extent, though, these rhythmic patterns were observed strictly in his playing, since they are written out in the choral preludes for organ to sound improvised. Moment Reveindeisung de Grosse is one of the major examples in the E-flat chorale, but there is also many others. In fact, it's a striking fact that the last works that Brahms composed in 1897, the year of his death, were chorale preludes for organ. It meant so much to him too. Bach forever. But the fact is that it's a timeless thing regardless of the style. But the fact that pedagogically Herr Bach had to teach by demonstrating, as if he gives you a template and says, take this as an example and deal with it for the other things as well. But he doesn't do it for every piece. Even the inventions, which he calls inventio, imaginations, creativity, it's all about two-voice or three-voice imitations in good polyphony. like a gentle society where the voices complement each other. I strongly believe that we haven't yet reached the level of Bach's hearing, inner hearing. For this seemingly endless flow of melodic voices, lines, layers, which interact with each other without to confront each other. It's not a confrontational fugue or a confrontational imitation pattern. It's all about good harmony, good societal, respectful existence between the different patterns of contrary, common, repeated, or different voices in terms of patterns. In minor with the ascending and the descending, in major with the consistently seemingly same, of course, tetrachord for both. So there is something that still puzzles me after all these years, is how did he hear all these things in his head, heart, soul, himself, wherever? It's not just knowledge. It's not just a scholarship. You could say, how much did he study? How many hours did he write contrapoint exercises in order to be flawless? Not sure that it has to do with, well, perhaps, with him trying to improve. Who's to know? And does it really matter? Because what? If he didn't struggle, then we're doomed. And if he struggled, then we are satisfied to know, oh, he also did, so I can relate. But that's belittling things to ourselves. So what? No, I think we need to rise ourselves to the level of his hearing, of his intuition, of his combinations of voices, the way he... it's like an embroidery. I mean, it's amazing. It's stunningly elegant. It's amazingly rich. It's incredibly healthy. It's not affected. It is full of juice, of literally... it's like pleasant. It's pleasurable. All these voices, inner voices, that in this case of the English suite for the Sarabande, he gives us the right hand top part, how it would be, so to say, simple or naked, and then very decorated. Now, when he decorates polyphony, there is a sense of community or communal element, always simple, but it's sort of like cloning of the material. So it's like parthenogenesis. While when he decorates simply the melodic line, it's more than just that. There's a level of seduction in this decoration of the English suite Sarabande. Agrément in French comes from the English, or brought to the English agreement, or symphonos, symphony, which in Greek means agreement. So there is something about good behaving, I think, generally. And philosophically, to me, it's like as if, despite of the seductive aspect of the decoration, he's always into harmony of the elements. How everything should be harmonious in terms of the voices, the rhythms, the patterns. Granted, he wrote only one that we know, 6-voice fugue, the Richard Carr from the musical offering. Many in 5, most in 4, and a plethora in 3 voices fugues. And while you think these composers like him had to write a lot by obligation in order to survive, to come up with jobs, obligations. So ephemeral music could have been simple, just to go through and get it done with the means of the day. He had the orphans who sang in the choir who couldn't really sing or have any sense of pitch, and he was supposedly extremely angry at their incapacity to sing his complex chromaticisms in the choir openings of his weekly cantatas. Again, why write so complex, subtle, and incredibly deep and moving weekly? Like ephemeral music could have been simple and easy to put together, almost like a Kleenex. No, hardened into that either with the symphonies and plethora of them for Esterhazy, for whom he worked. Schubert, even Schubert never got commissions because he never get to be officially a composer, but he did write by his own drive so many of each of the genres and quartets and symphonies and operas and everything. What drove them to do in the quantity, the quality, the diversity, the originality? As if each work in Bach's writing is unique, even if it's seemingly part of this plethora of works which come from the same tap, divine tap, whatever, that sounds cheesy. I find that the most moving, that he didn't surrender to the facility for the ephemeral moments. He really went for the, yeah. He went for the subtle, despite all. And despite the time, despite the conditions of rehearsing, of performing, of maturing, or the idea even of being published, which he wasn't, compared to a Handel in the court in England, the position Bach held at best was incomparably low, much more demanding and much less remunerated. I mean, he seems to have given to all of us through his job days something invaluable about how to be so respectful that even if you write a lot in little time, you have to write with your heart, soul, and meaning for every piece you do. No facility. And that Sarabande in A minor from the English suite talks marvelously about it by itself.